Hey tankers, this is my first look at Armored Warfare in early access. This is a game being developed by Obsidian Entertainment, and I'm going to show you my first battle in the M113. This is one of the two tanks you get in your garage in early access. It's equipped with an autocannon with a super high rate of fire, over 3600 damage per minute, but very low damage per shot, and what looks to be relatively low penetration. Since I am a big World of Tanks fan and have been playing that game for the past couple years, I'll talk throughout this video of the comparative differences. The first thing that jumps out is the era selected. World of Tanks focuses on tanks from World War II and the decades right after it, whereas this game focuses more on modern era tanks, so post World War II, probably from about 1960, 1970 and on. Now, I haven't played this map before. This is only my third battle in Armored Warfare, and I don't really know the mechanics and certainly don't understand the map meta or the tanks, so I'm going to hang back just a little bit and, be conservative, not kind of YOLO, especially since I don't know where the good forward spotting positions are or areas where I can safely snipe behind hard cover. The UI itself is very similar to World of Tanks. In the bottom left, you've got that display of your tank and the different modules and the mini-map on the right. In future videos, I'll make sure to increase the mini-map if that's adjustable, because it is a little bit on the small side right now. Right there, I thought I got hit, but this is actually a friendly tank drove up and ran into me and did damage to me. This kind of reminds me of like playing the low tiers in World of Tanks. You have people who aren't very good drivers. I mean, like I could have driven through any other point of that wall next to me and instead drove right into me. Okay, first target. This guy dropped down, and now I have some shots on him. And man, this gun has a super high rate of fire, but it looks like I'm not penetrating any of my shots. And probably because this is an autocannon with low penetration, I'm going to need to be hitting either lighter tanks or hitting them in areas where they're weaker. So, alright, now we're getting some orange numbers popping up. So I did over 100 damage to that tank, and our team burns him down. A lot of the same principles from World of Tanks applies. You don't want to overexpose yourself. You want to leverage hard cover and vision control as much as possible. And I was going to move forward, but these tanks are, in my range and shootable. It looks like there's certainly destructible terrain in this game. I think that's one of the things which is a strength of the Cry engine. The tank I was just shooting at did pull back into hard cover, and there was just a sliver of the turret of this tank showing. So, this isn't really going to be a target that I'm going to be able to meaningfully damage. Alright, I was going to move forward, but it looks like another tank has been spotted up on top of ridge. One thing I will note is, by default, the sensitivity of the aiming reticle in the sniper view is way too sensitive. The default setting is 35, but literally if you turn your mouse just a smidgen, it will whip around your turret like 90 degrees. It's really, really way too sensitive, so I turned that down after I played a couple battles in the PT-76. I dropped it down to a value of about 10 in this video, and this seems to be reasonably playable. And obviously I'll need to dial that in future battles. Right, so this tank, earlier, I think this is the tank that was behind that rock and the destructible hard cover. We blew up a vehicle that was next to it, and this time, since he exposed himself meaningfully, we were able to put some damage into him. This tank looks like, he's fairly low profile, and, again, most of it looks like it's hull down, so really I only have shots on his turret, but I do get a penetrating shot to land. This really isn't a very good target for me to be aiming at. And again, so I don't know the terrain or the lanes. It's kind of hard, when you play a game at first. Probably in future games I'll be more aggressive, just to kind of get an idea of how the map is structured and how to use the terrain. So, because I've been sniping from the back, I have certainly been managing to conserve my hit points, and then I try something a little different here. Instead of spraying and praying, I'm kind of more consciously letting the aiming reticle fully zoom in after each shot to see if that helps in terms of accuracy. It doesn't seem like it's meaningfully helpful. And this tank here, he's just turning his broadside as he's backing up behind the rock, but he drops from spotting range, so I can't see him anymore. One thing I am keeping an eye on, just like in World of Tanks, you want to keep one eye on the mini-map, as often as possible. And you can see we're definitely winning the northern half of this map, but their enemy tanks are making a very successful push into the middle of the map and heading south toward our cap. So I want to be cognizant of that and not push too far forward. It looks like there's only one more tank left here on this side of the map. He's just a couple rows above me. It looks like in about C3 or so. I'm going to move up around this building and see if I have any shots on him. Okay, this is that same tank that I was firing on just a little earlier with, he was mostly hull down, and our team finishes him off. So I'm going to go ahead and reposition now, move back further south. They're just within a couple zones of getting over to our base, and I'm not sure how the capping mechanics work. I actually learned from playing in this battle. We'll see that soon. There is just one enemy tank left up north around B2, but we have so many tanks up there. I don't want to be redundant with the rest of my team. And then I finally here get my first kill. So this tank initially is behind hard cover. He comes out at a pretty flat angle, so he's exposing his side hull armor, and I'm able to get a bunch of penetrations, and we burn him down. Alright, so I moved behind this building for hard cover, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut and run down the, looks like the 0 line here, or the 1 line, head back toward our base. I want to take kind of a wide route so I don't get spotted on the way back. So I'm basically retracing my steps toward our spawn. And you can see the cap is starting to tick up now, and I want to get as close to the cap and spot these guys as possible. Granted, I'm in pretty good shape, but just like in World of Tanks, you want to be mindful of conserving your hit points as much as possible. The destructible terrain in this game really does look very nice. The CryEngine, I've heard people say very good things about it. This game was not optimized for NVIDIA. There seems to be a bug right now where the NVIDIA control panel, by default for this game executable, selects integrated graphics instead of the NVIDIA GPU. So, if you're having low frame rate in NVIDIA, like I literally had 5-6 frames per second, it was totally unplayable for my first battle. You want to go and fix that in the NVIDIA control panel. Okay, so this tank was capping, and he poked his head out to take some shots on me, but exposed himself. And one thing, if you watch that segment very carefully, is the first penetrating shot that I landed didn't actually reset the cap. So that's a different from World of Tanks. It looks like you have to eliminate the tanks in your cap. And here I had very poor map awareness. If I had been watching the map, I'd actually spotted this tank to the south of me, showed up on my mini-map, but I was not smart or aware of him being spotted, and so I ate a pretty high damaging shot in my totally flat hull armor. This tank starts to pop out. Again, I wouldn't do this since he was at low health and I'm at much higher health. And you'll notice that as I was firing my autocannon at him, the canister that he was hiding behind is actually destructible terrain. So, in their position in the future, I would be mindful of hiding behind hardcover like these rocks, which would provide much better protection, non-destructible protection. So we've come back. We were ahead initially, and then their team tied it up and was a little bit ahead, but we managed to take out their tanks that were capping, and now we're in an advantageous 2 versus 1 situation. And I want to make sure not to be redundant with the other tanks, so I'm not going to follow the exact line that my friendly tank is taking, and hopefully we can flank this enemy tank. He's still got a pretty good chunk of his hit points left, so we've got to be careful. And I was hoping to get some early damage here from range, but he drops from view, and then he does something I wasn't expecting. He rushes the other friendly Scorpion, and these guys are trading shots, but the anti-Scorpion finishes off my player, and I'm too far away. It's unfortunate. If I had known he would have rushed, I would have come up immediately around him and support my friendly tank. But this other guy is now, like, as I come around the corner here expecting to see him, he's fully on the run. So I spot him just as he disappears around the edge of the building. And like I said, I've got to get the aiming reticle, the speed or sensitivity of it dialed in, because I really, this is the first battle I played at a sensitivity of 10. It seemed to work reasonably well. But a lot of this also is just getting used to a new game. I've got something like 12,000 battles in World of Tanks, so I'm used to how my controls are dialed in there. The Scorpion is rushing me. He lands another penetrating shot, but I unload my autocannon on him. It looks like he rams himself and self-damages for the victory. Pretty fun match. I think the combat mechanics are very similar to World of Tanks. Again, the biggest difference to me is just the era of tanks that are selected. There are some other differences as well, as I understand. There aren't going to be kind of the gold ammo rounds, which are a bit of a huge balance issue within World of Tanks. And then looking at the scoreboard, one other thing that jumped out at me immediately is that the enemy team actually got a lot of experience points for this as well, even though they lost. And I think that's a good thing. World of Tanks, if you're on the losing side, even if you have a great game, you're going to get out experience pointed by even players who did poorly on the winning side. So it looks like here I did about, top 6 damage on our team, so not a lot of damage, but certainly was able to kill the most tanks on our team, primarily through HP conservation and, just being there to help finish off the low HP tanks at the end of the battle. And then just like WoT of Tanks, you also have a per tank dossier, of tracking your performance in that tank, which I think is fun. Allows you to kind of track and measure your progress to see how you're doing. So I will be posting other early access videos, at least in North America. Getting early access costs $15 USD, which for me is worth it. I want to check out this game. This will be free to play at launch, so no charge to play the game and no subscription fee required. In the meanwhile, if you're looking at playing another tank shooter, I definitely recommend WoT of Tanks. It's a lot of fun. And if you are a WoT of Tanks player and you're looking for tips on how to improve, I recommend checking out my Road to Unicum video series. So far I've posted 16 videos, and they're all about my sharing the things that I've learned, both mistakes as well as good tips, as I progress my account towards Unicum standing, which is top 1% of the community. I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care.